This is Rummy's Corner. Coming up on October 17th, an bout that will be televised in the United States on ESPN from the MGM Grand in Las Vegas, Nevada. Unified WBO WBA lightweight world champion Vasyl Lomachenko will square off against undefeated IBF lightweight champion Teofimo Lopez. This will be the first fight for each champion this year. Lopez had 4 fights last year, whereas Lomachenko had just 2. For Lopez, he first fought in February of last year when he scored a 7th-round knockout against Diego Magdaleno. Then in April, Lopez defeated Edis Tatley by a 5th-round knockout. Then in July, Lopez was awarded a lopsided 12-round unanimous decision against then-undefeated Masayoshi Nakatani. And then last December, Lopez got his first opportunity to compete for a major world title when he scored an impressive 2nd-round stoppage against defending IBF champion Richard Comey. For Lomachenko, he successfully defended his unified WBA WBO championship belts when he scored a 4th-round knockout against Anthony Crolla in April of last year. And most recently, Lomachenko added the WBC belt to his existing collection when he was awarded a 12-round unanimous decision against Luke Campbell in August 2019. So by the time this fight happens, it will have been more than 10 months since Lopez last fought. And for Lomachenko, it will have been 2 weeks shy of 14 months. That will be the largest gap of inactivity for both boxers during their professional careers, which started in 2016 and 2013 respectively for Lopez and Lomachenko. With Lopez having just turned 23 years old back in July, and Lomachenko just a few months away from 33 years old come fight night, one would think that the long layoffs resulting from COVID-19 would favor the much younger boxer. Additionally, Lopez has basically always been a lightweight during his short career to date, whereas this was the 3rd weight class for Lomachenko, who first won world titles at 126 and 130 before making the jump to 135 back in May 2018, when he got up off the canvas to score a dramatic 10th-round stoppage victory in a highly engaging encounter against Jorge Linares. So the big advantages for Lopez are that he has youth on his side, he's more of a natural lightweight, and he presumably has better punching power. Although it's difficult to say how much of an impact these perceived advantages will provide him in a real-world scenario. Lomachenko may be older, he may be naturally smaller, he may not be as powerful, and he has had a longer stretch of inactivity. But the big advantages for Lomachenko come in the form of big fight experience and elite-level skills. There is a good reason Lomachenko is widely viewed as one of the very best pound-for-pound boxers currently competing today, where indeed, many observers view Lomachenko as the pound-for-pound king of boxing. Lomachenko has quite the decorated background. A 2-time Olympic gold medalist with an incredible amateur pedigree. The quickest boxer in history to win a major world title in just his 3rd professional bout. And he's already a 3-division world champion. Lomachenko has just 15 professional fights, but all of those but one have been title fights. And he has just 1 loss on his ledger, which happened in just his 2nd fight against seasoned veteran Orlando Salido. But since that loss, Lomachenko has quickly developed into a seasoned championship prize fighter in his own right, despite having so few professional bouts. Interestingly enough, Lomachenko has exactly the same number of professional contests as Lopez, with 15. The winner of this contest will technically not become the first undisputed lightweight world champion since Pernell Whitaker, although it is mistakenly being reported as such by some outlets. Sweet Pea became the undisputed champion when he defeated Juan Nazario by first-round knockout in August 1990. With that victory, Whitaker added the WBA belt to his existing collection that included the WBC and the IBF. Those were the three major belts of Whittaker's day. He defended the Undisputed Championship 3 times, the last of which happened on October 5th, 1991, when he won a unanimous decision against Jorge Paez. So that was the last night we saw an undisputed lightweight world champion nearly 30 years ago. Whittaker jumped up to 140 after the Paez bout. Today, of course, we have 4 major championship belts. But things are even more confusing than that. Lomachenko currently reigns as the WBO champion, the WBC so-called franchise champion, and the WBA Super Duper champion. This isn't meant as a criticism of Lomachenko, or of any professional boxers who hold or have competed for these title variations. The boxers are just playing by the rules of today, but these sanctioning bodies are getting beyond the point of being ridiculous. But basically, Lomachenko won the vacant WBC belt against Campbell, but he technically isn't the WBC champion right now. Devin Haney was elevated from interim WBC champ to the real McCoy, whereas Lomachenko was named the so-called franchise champion. Haney actually defended the WBC belt last November when he beat Alfredo Santiago by unanimous decision. The only reason I'm mentioning all of this is to illustrate the absurdity of the sanctioning bodies, in particular the WBA and WBC in this instance. The WBA has been pushing this nonsensical garbage for years, where they've devalued their own regular WBA belt to a minor status novelty. The Super WBA belt is their real world championship, it too devalued by their own conniving ways. And now the WBC is also making stuff up as they go along, with this fabricated franchise folly that, as far as I can see, is really nothing more than an honorary status that has no real meaning beyond being a new scheme to help the WBC line its own pockets. The WBO and IBF have each had their fair share of shady past behavior, but with the ridiculous long-time rules from the WBA and the new shenanigans from the WBC, they make the other two look like shining beacons of integrity. It's a wonder the WBA and WBC are even still considered major world titles. Again, this isn't meant as a criticism towards Lomachenko, Haney, or any boxers. This is a criticism directed squarely at the piss-poor, self-serving procedural nonsense from the alphabet bodies, namely the WBC in this case, who have made the championship landscape even more confusing and disturbing than it had already long been. So while this fight should be for the undisputed lightweight crown, it technically is not. But don't let any of this detract from the quality of this matchup. For me, this is clearly the best matchup that came together since COVID changed the entire boxing business landscape. This is a high-quality matchup, and what makes this one so intriguing is that on one side you have a hard-punching young boxer with a lot of potential and good skills, and on the other side you have an almost complete boxer who is capable of seamlessly transitioning from defense to offense and back again. It is truly a classic clash of styles with a rich historical tradition. For Lopez, I'm sure the temptation will be there to try and land something big early on. He will want to see how Lomachenko reacts to his power, and if the openings are there, I expect him to unload. But I think Lopez needs to assume he is probably not going to find those type of openings in the early going against a skilled technician like Lomachenko. I think Lopez needs to be prepared for the long haul in this one, and that he will need to exhibit some patience without overextending himself or becoming frustrated in the process. Lopez does have a decent skill set in his own right, and he may be able to lull Lomachenko into a false sense of security where he could find ways to land big. I think patience is a key for Lomachenko here too, and another big thing for him is not to underestimate this kid. Lomachenko is the more complete boxer, and he is typically methodical with his approach, especially since he moved up to lightweight. In that sense, Lomachenko needs to approach this like business as usual, where his superb boxing skills and incredible ring smarts typically blend together very effectively. Lomachenko can at times be very sneaky, especially when countering with a defensively responsible approach. Like Lopez, Lomachenko is also gifted in the art of setting traps. This too will serve him well. I'm not suggesting that Lomachenko needs to be overly cautious here, but I do believe he would best serve himself by being measured and deliberate with his strategy, especially in the earlier rounds where Lomachenko's stellar footwork could make a big difference in the ebb and flow. So who will win between Vasyl Lomachenko and Teofimo Lopez? Personally, I honestly believe that Lopez has the skills and attributes that he can legit score the upset here. In addition to that, I think the timing of this bout might actually play in Lopez's favor. So I'm going on record saying I would not be at all shocked if Lopez scores the upset here. But that being said, Lomachenko has proven to be something very special, and it's extremely difficult to pick against him at this time. I tend to believe that the skills, the smarts, and the experience of Lomachenko will be enough to subdue the young, hungry champion in Lopez. I actually think this one could potentially be a lot of fun and pretty competitive. But I like Lomachenko here in this one, and I think his superior footwork will help lead him to victory. So for my official prediction, I like Lomachenko in a decisive yet competitive unanimous decision. But whatever happens, I cannot emphasize enough how fired up I am that a fight of this magnitude has come together at this time. This has been a very difficult year for boxing, and indeed for everything else beyond boxing. The fact that the Fury-Wilder rematch actually happened this year is tough to keep in perspective, because it feels like it happened ages ago. This fight lacks the mainstream high-profile spotlight that shined on that megabout boxing event, but right now, this is exactly the type of fight that boxing needs. And hopefully, it will be a solid encounter that helps boxing get back on track, where maybe the bigger fights will happen in great abundance starting in 2021. Just a few short weeks away, Saturday night, October 17th, 2020, on a bout that will be televised in the US on ESPN from the MGM Grand in Las Vegas, Nevada. Vasyl Lomachenko versus Teofimo Lopez, a match for lightweight boxing supremacy. I cannot wait for this one, and whatever happens, may the best man win on that night. Who do you think will win the fight between Lomachenko and Lopez? Please share your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed and have a wonderful night. This is Rummy's Corner.